good. We're on.
We're on. Yeah.
Nice.
How you doing,
Okay.
Jordan? From Dream Theater.
Yeah.
I'll do like a small introduction. Don't want to embarrass you, but Jordan is the keyboard player for Dream Theater, also a part of writing, and you joined Dream Theater in 1999, right?
Well, 98, but the first
98.
album was 99. Yeah.
Right. To me, like the way I see Jordan, he's like some sort of a entrepreneur in music, in sound, in just like everything. Basically, you kind of round up the music and you just take it to like those extreme levels and just like inspiring all in all.
Thanks so much. That's very nice. Appreciate it.
All right. So let's start with this. By the way, we're doing this for Metal Militia
Okay.
from Israel.
Nice.
And so good for us.
And we'll get in a metal mood then, right?
Whatever suits you.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I'm gonna jump right in and gonna tell what the story that everyone knows, basically, that you're on a world tour, right?
Mm-hmm. About to be. The second half, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're starting on the 14th of January in Israel, right?
That's what they tell me.
Amazing. You sound like me when people ask me about like
right.
When's the next show? I don't know, man. I'm just a bass player.
Wherever they take me, right? I'll be there. Play.
100%.
Right.
So how does it feel to arrive here after? Well, you've been here. This is going to be the 4th time, right?
Oh God, I don't know. Yeah,
2009.
Wow. Well, I know the shows in Israel are always great. The audience, is wonderful there. I mean, they're so energized and into Dream Theater and enthusiastic. And they give us a lot of, passion and energy, and it always makes it really, really worth it. So, plus I personally have so many friends there, and I do some work with a big company there called Lightrix. That makes video and photo applications and visual things. So all things put together, it's like one of the best spots for me to play.
Amazing. Sounds good.
Yeah, man.
It's just like a small thing that I wanted to ask. Like, do you have like a favorite spot here, or like a restaurant or something you like? When you come here, you like to eat or just hang out?
Well, I mean, like Tel Aviv is such a cool city. It feels very kind of European and fun, and all the bars and restaurants, and that's always a good time. Last time I was there, I had the pleasure of going up to the Lightrix campus, which was really amazing because it's in Jerusalem, and it's pretty much the desert, but they managed to have like waterfalls and like lush greenery all around them. It was a pretty nice scene. So it's
amazing. Yeah. Maybe you can share with everyone like on a day-to-day basis as a professional keyboardist. And well, I see you like mostly on Instagram, and I just like see your I don't know how to call it, like your enthusiasm towards music, your passion, and like practicing and drilling like new stuff.
Right.
Can you tell me how you find the time to do all that stuff? How do you?
Yeah, I understand. It's a good question. Well, I always tell people that because I truly love what I do, and I'm very kind of like almost like one-sided. Like I don't have other hobbies. Like to me, music is my professional life, but it's also my hobby in the sense that that's what I'm doing when I'm just like hanging out. Like if I'm just if I'm not busy, not doing anything, I'll just go on Instagram and improvise and play and share. And it's one of my favorite things to kind of be playing and look down at my, phone or however I'm capturing it and see like this kind of international gathering of, people all over the world is kind of like vibing on music with me. And, that's a pleasure. And plus, over the last year or so, I've been really kind of into developing my guitar playing as well. And that's like, you consider that as like my hobby, but I'm so into it. Like I could literally spend all day just doing these kind of things. So, but sometimes real life and responsibilities do get in the way, as anybody's life, and you got to put down what you're doing and deal with whatever business needs to happen. But in general, I managed to stay in a creative space a lot, and I really love sharing with the fans and friends, and to me that's really joyful. So that's how it works.
Sounds amazing. And the fact that you can manage everything is sometimes, to me, it seems like impossible, but
we try,
really do it. Yeah.
Do our best.
If you would like to share a little bit about like growing up, when you first started playing and had to exercise and do like the usual things that most musicians kind of struggle with, and really finding the space and the time to actually motivate yourself. I mean, how do you approach that? How did you manage when you were younger? Now that you're older, I guess it's maybe it's like easier because you're doing like a decision-making thing, and you're saying to yourself, all right, I know what I need to do. But when you were younger, how was it for you?
Yeah. Well, when I was really young, well, let me tell a long story, but in a short way. So when I was 7 years old, I started playing the piano. My first teacher was a jazz guy, so he didn't want to teach me by the book. He wanted to teach me, all the chords. And so, he taught me just how to play different chords, and I put them together, and then I could, say, okay, well, there's a song, and I'd read the guitar chart and just play whatever the hell came into my head. So so I got used to, like, if there's a melody, like, let's say the melody is, I would be like, look at the chord and be like,
Can't really hear you.
and immediately make up my own kind of arrangement. So that was really, really fun. A fun way to get started. So unlike some, piano students where they're just sitting there going, that's freaking boring. So my teacher was more about, okay, we're going to learn these chords, and you're going to play whatever you want. So I loved that, and that was great. So after some friends came over, friends of the family came over and heard me just kind of playing and doing my thing, they said to my parents, who didn't know as much about like music, they said, he should go to a really serious teacher. So they took me to a teacher who was determined to get me to go into the Juilliard School of Music, which is the leading, classical music school in the world.
You went to, right?
In New York. So then I had to really focus in, because this teacher was really like passionate and, wanted me to do this, and ended up getting into the preparatory division of Juilliard at 9. And I remember I had my first lesson, I was playing some Bach or something like that. It was like this little, right? But instead of playing it that way, I'd be like, I was like jamming on it. And she was like, no, you can't do that. You have to read exactly what's on the page. Right. So I did learn how to read exactly what was on the page, and I had a very serious kind of like, upbringing playing classical music, and I had a great teacher who taught me, the fundamentals of keyboard technique. I'd still improvise, but I'd kind of keep it to myself. I'd be like hiding away in a practice room, like really far down the hall, and just kind of be playing blues or whatever the hell I wanted to. Yeah. So anyway, I was saying that, so I had a very structured, very formal kind of like upbringing. And I would practice 3, 4, 5 hours a day, every day.
Right. Wow.
I lost your video, by the way.
Sorry?
I lost your video.
Oh, hold on.
There you go.
Back. Yeah. All right.
Cool. Got it. So yeah, so that's the story. So I went to classical music school, very serious student, stayed there till I was 19, went to the Juilliard College for a year, and then wanted to go and do my own thing and play synthesizers and, you know, other kinds of music and do things that teenagers did that I never really had a chance to do. So
like starting off with Dream Theater,
the band,
was
yeah.
it like a change, a big change in your life?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, I had been doing, you know, other things, certainly in the music business. Matter of fact, one of the things we did was the Liquid Tension experiment albums, 2 of them. I had played with the Dregs, you know, I had done a lot of work even outside of rock, like with the Paul Winter Consort. So I was in the professional space, but when I joined Dream Theater, it really like opened up and changed a lot because, you know, Dream Theater, their career was already this kind of international thing, and people all around the world knew about Dream Theater. So there was a lot that kind of came with that, a lot of traveling, a lot of meeting new people, a lot of kind of like, you know, worldly awareness, if you will, you know, that was brought into my life. And also as somebody who, when I would go to a town, I'll come to Israel or go to France or Italy or Japan, I would get out and I would walk and I'd meet people and kind of allow the culture to kind of like, you know, become part of me, which is one of the things I love about this. Not everybody does that, but I do that. And so all of that input was a great kind of like opening for my, you know, from my life. And I, you know, all the interesting interviews with people from all around the world, and you know, it really upped the whole thing, you know, a notch. I don't know if you know this, but like I was invited to join Dream Theater, like I think in 1994 it was, after after Kevin Moore had left, and I auditioned, and the guys liked me, I liked them, everything was cool, but you know, for various reasons, I decided not to do it. But I did play one show with them, which people know about, this thing called Foundations Forum. It's actually something you can watch, you know, on YouTube, I think. But I decided not to do the gig at that point, just to hold off. And then I did the LTE step. And then later on, they asked me again after we had worked together a bit and things changed. And, you know, then it was a better time to do that. So then I said yes. And then we did Scenes from a Memory. And then my life, you know, really took a big turn and changed.
It's amazing. And you're happy about it.
Yeah, and I think it's been a great ride. I mean, how many bands last this long? And, you know, and the other thing, it's not just that we lasted this long. It's kind of like when we put out an album, you know, the music is still, you know, current. Like people look at Dream Theater, like they're a band that puts out, you know, new stuff, and it's to be taken seriously. It's not like a band from the 80s that, you know, they put out a new album and nobody really cares. You know, I think with Dream Theater, it's still, you know, like it's still vital. It's still a real current, you know, band.
Yeah, you guys are like true musicians, explorers and innovators. And in your, how does it feel actually to be a part of such a, like you created a genre, like progressive metal to me is Dream Theater.
Yeah, you know, like I'm not going to take credit for personally for you know, creating progressive metal. I would maybe, if I had to give credit to somebody for that actual creation of that style, I would kind of look more to like, you know, the Dream Theater that happened before I joined, to be totally honest, because when I heard it, when somebody turned me on to Dream Theater, I think I heard some like Images and Words stuff. And I was like, wow, this is kind of like the progressive rock that I love, but it's got like metal and it's got like virtuosity and all these things. And I just thought that was really awesome. So of course that combination was kind of like, you know, Mike and John were spearheading, you know, that blend of styles. I think that was the major, you know, that was the tremendous influence that it had on so many other musicians. Now, when I came into the band, you know, Scenes from a Memory was a very pivotal album for them, you know, as well as like Images and Words. And we kind of took things yet to another direction, because I came in and offered my whole classical background and my whole orchestrational background. And also, I was really, I've always been a really big prog head as well as classical. So we kind of reshaped that blend. And I've always been into blending styles as well. Not necessarily, I wasn't doing prog metal as a blend, but I would do my own classical, prog, jazz, electronic, whatever. So that's kind of what I came into Dream Theater with, and kind of, blended and maybe ignited the flame again, and also did the legwork, if you will, to bring Dream Theater to where we are today. Because, when I joined, it wasn't anything near what we have. We really worked this band. We've always worked, we record, we tour, we energize, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, when I started listening to you guys at a very early age, it was to me, it was like a huge shock at first.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And once I kind of listened to you guys progress,
yeah,
it was amazing to me, like you said, that you kept on innovating and creating new stuff.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it's about. Yeah, yes, definitely what it's about. I mean, there are some bands that are just kind of more like that kind of thing. I see like almost not, they're not progressive metal, but I see like a King Crimson is kind of being a little similar to like a Dream Theater. And I don't know if you like King Crimson, but I always see them as like real musicians, and even though they could be around forever, and it's always interesting because they're always playing like really cool stuff, and it doesn't get like, it doesn't become like, oh, that was like, just a fashion back then, it's always kind of like cool and new because they're composers, like.
Yeah. I actually started listening to King Crimson and like older stuff when I was younger. Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
Oh, wow.
King Crimson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to have a dad that was listening to a lot of stuff,
Fantastic.
stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, good.
Anyways,
yeah.
So there's a kind of a follow-up question, another like little maybe thing, about liquid tension experiment.
Yeah.
So again, amazing project, and I know you started working with Petrucci and Portnoy back then, and could you share maybe some? I mean, people know the band, people know the project, but can you share like maybe a nice memory from starting to work together, and maybe something from the studio?
Liquid tension moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, first of all, it was really exciting to be in. It was interesting and exciting to be invited into that space to do the album with Liquid Tension, because I literally got a call from the guy from the record company who was doing Liquid Tension, who said, okay, I'm calling because Mike Portnoy wants you to be in this quote unquote super group that he's putting together. So I was like, oh, a super group. Wonderful. Love it. I never heard of a super group, So here we are. We're doing a super group. I said, and I didn't, as you know, we've discussed, I didn't join Dream Theaters, but now he's calling. He wants me to join this. And I thought, well, that's good because that's more like part-time. I can do that. I can keep, dealing with what I have to do otherwise. So yeah, like we got together. I even remember walking in like the first day and like meeting everybody. It was a very good vibe. And the Liquid Tension thing was always really very cool because, they brought their Dream Theater stuff. John and Mike brought that, and I brought what I bring, and Tony Levin would bring what he brings. And it was almost like you put ingredients in a soup and you like stir them up in this kind of loose, open way where anything is fair game. And so it was a really joyful kind of experience, with the guys. And it was, and like any band or any working situation, in addition to the joy, sometimes there were like moments where I go, well, like, let's go trying to figure out dynamics, like I'd watch like John and Mike sink into like whatever the vibe was that they'd have together with Dream Theater. They would all of a sudden it was almost like a little bubble around them where they were going in like Dream Theater world. And, Tony and I would be like, hey guys, like we're here too. Like, like it was actually pretty cool because they were so used to working together, right?
Right.
But that was kind of like funny. And like, it was a chance for me to musically offer some things that, they had never really were not necessarily aware is the wrong word, but they're not necessarily into like jazzier things or honky tonk kind of like ideas or all the things that Liquid Tension would do, and also all the jamming. The whole 3-minute warning song that's on was it the first or second one? That was because Tony was like, okay, I have to leave, and I'm going to leave here in 3 minutes. And so, unless we play something, so then we started to play, and ended up being like what a 20-minute some odd like song, like this
Awesome.
really funny. So it was all like really positive to the point where when the second album ended and we were in a good place, and the first album sold well, and we were all pretty happy. That's when they asked me. They said, "Look, we asked you once before years ago, but we really enjoy working together, and we think it would be amazing." And John really, what happened in Liquid Tension is we realized that John Petrucci and I were like amazing writing partners. We just, we totally like hit it off, and we were able to do these crazy things together and really enjoy it. So it came, to that point where they were like, "We really want you to join." And John really wanted to have kind of like a writing partner on that level, somebody, so he wouldn't have to. I mean, he loves writing music, but I think he wanted to have somebody that he felt he could really, work with in a certain way. So yeah. So then when I walked into the Dream Theater, first sessions, I was like, oh, it's like Liquid Tension, except for instead of a tall, bald guy, there's a guy with like long black hair. But I will say that it was very, very different, because then the main difference was that Liquid Tension was an open book. We could do anything. But with Dream Theater, although there's a lot of styles and a lot of influences and things, possibilities, still, it was already a little bit more of a brand. You had people expected something from Dream Theater. There was a sound. So in that case, it was more like, it was more possible for them to say to me, Jordan, that's really cool, but maybe save that for like something else, like your own album or whatever. So I had to kind of like even learn like what kind of ideas like are within the, the Dream Theater package, if you will, or window of possibilities. Of course, we would shake it up a bit, but still there's, because people, once you are a band where people, kind of like lock into you, and, they kind of expect certain things. So that's why somebody needs to like police the style a little bit as well.
For sure. That's funny, but I really understand what you're talking about. Basically, I wanted to like ask, I don't know, maybe it's like stuff that I just want to ask. I just want to know.
Totally fine. Yeah.
As a fan, and as a fan of like intense music, and I mean, this music is really is intense, and really is like it's demanding in like a lot, in a lot of aspects.
Right.
Like, what is your general like rules of keeping healthy while on the road? Maybe you have some tips or tricks that you can share.
Yeah, one of the things I love to do, which I mentioned in passing before, is when I get to a city, a town, country, I really like to get out and walk. I find getting some air, getting physical, outside of just doing the show is really important to me, and kind of keeps me in a good headspace, as well as, all the movement is healthy for my, my body. So, I mean, that probably is the main, thing. And we're schlepping around a lot on buses and sometimes on planes. So it kind of puts me in this space where, I'm not like binge eating and all that. It would just be very uncomfortable for that kind of like travel, because you got to find some way to stay balanced, and I kind of, I guess, learned a little bit about how to conserve my energy and when I need to get out and walk. And I really find like getting out and getting air, and sometimes even when I'll get to the venue, like 4 p.m. or something like that, and I'll be like, guys, I just got to step out, so I'm going to go walk a little bit around here. And that's what keeps me sane. I think that's what keeps me, healthy.
Right. And you like manage like a certain diet, you eat healthy, or you just eat whatever's the
In general, I eat pretty well, like, I mean, I like my Starbucks and things like that. And, kind of like, got to get my chai latte in. That's not the most healthy thing, but, but I'm also I'm pretty like, I'm a person of moderation, I don't do like things to the extreme, I mean, maybe I like practice to the extreme, or, like that part of me, but everything else, like just kind of like go a little bit easy about life, and, a little bit on the more careful side. And so things are kind of in that more gentle space, or at least I try to keep them there.
That's cool. Thanks for sharing. I was also wondering, I know you've probably listened to pretty much everything,
Yeah.
and you've experienced like a lot of music styles, but are there any like actual bands that exist today, maybe like new bands that you are still willing to explore and to open up to?
Oh, of course, absolutely. I am always listening to stuff, young artists, people sending me things, and and I also like a wide variety of music. Like, what makes people kind of interest people, because they wouldn't necessarily think that I'd be into it, but I really like some of the really super heavy stuff, like the band Lorna Shore.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, I dig their sound. I find it to be very like, it's so over the top, and Will is such a character with his singing. I just feel like I'm watching high theater or something like that, or listening to it. It's just like, you listen to some of these bands, rah, 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 and it's okay, yeah, it's cool, whatever. But they're doing it, and it's like, oh my God, I'm meeting with the devil now. This is like, it's crazy. And not that I'm that excited about going to the dark side, but I find it to be so intense that it literally becomes theater to me. It goes beyond just being dark and heavy or whatever. It's like this other headspace, and I like it. And I think that they're doing a really good job of creating that music. So, and sometimes I'll hear something in that genre that'll be like, oh, that's really cool. But anyway, that's an example of like some of the
cool
things I like. And then, I'm also a follower of what's going on in the prog, world. Certainly, I'm really a big fan of Haken, and I also really love the guys there. I think they're a great band. Electronic music. I really into Boards of Canada, Audiker, Aphex Twin, like, lots of stuff. Yeah.
Aphex Twin was something that I was introduced to, like, I don't know, maybe 20 something years ago, and was blown away, literally.
Right.
I wasn't
Bouncing
sure,
ball. Like, what the hell is going on there? Very cutting edge, right? Futuristic. Yeah.
I know you guys again are doing this like world tour, and but I still wanna maybe get an inside scoop about like, what are you planning like in the future? Any new releases, videos, anything like that you want to share, you want to like make people more excited?
Yeah. Well, as we said, so we're basically starting part 2 of our world tour. So this is the beginning of like a whole round of stuff. We're starting in Israel, are going to be continuing all around Europe for 7 weeks or whatever it is, coming back. We'll probably, we're going to hit Asia, and hopefully we'll get to Australia, and then America. We're going to do it all again. So this is a big, round of stuff. As far as like videos or something like that, there's nothing like that's locked in or planned or like announceable. But I think people know that Dream Theater usually at the end of a world tour will capture a live event. So there's nothing to announce, but I'd like to, it's something we're going to discuss, and hopefully put something together for that. That'd be amazing. Beyond that, I mean, when we're done with the tour, which will probably round up at the end of July, I think, we'll start looking at when we're going to get back in the studio, because Dream Theater is a working band. We like to stay active, and touring's done. We'll take a break. I know John's doing his guitar camp in August in Florida, which he just announced. Exciting.
It looks amazing.
Speaking of that, I'm going to go to the Joe Satriani guitar camp on January 3rd. I'll be in Las Vegas for a few days playing some guitar and helping out on some keyboard stuff when I'm out there before I leave for Israel. It's going to be really, really fun.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
Jordan, again, thank you for being here and for lending us your time and your words. And again, it's an honor for me, and I'm sure that I speak for a lot of the people here in Israel, a lot of the fans.
And let me just say
that you guys are coming here on the 14th of January.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.